Next one comes from Trevor Whitaker. Greetings, John. Like almost everyone, I'm so excited for the next Christopher Nolan movie. He's been my absolute favorite director since The Dark Knight, and I loved every single one of his movies. I saw that his new film coming out in 2020 is being described as North by Northwest meets Inception. How crazy does that sound? Are you guys excited for it, and how do you interpret that description? Bring on the filthy.
Yeah. So what he's talking about here is a bunch of news outlets yesterday were running with something that got mentioned in the playlist, or it's either in playlist or on playlist's Twitter account. And they mentioned that the next Christopher Nolan movie, they talk about when this might be going in front of cameras and all this kind of stuff. Because we know he's got a movie coming in 2020. They're calling it a big event film. And they were the first ones to come out with a description of it and said it's going to be North by Northwest meets Inception. Now, I know probably a lot of you guys haven't seen North by Northwest. Cole's notes. Average dude gets mistaken for some kind of secret spy, and now he's on the run for his life because of mistaken identity and all that kind of stuff. You take that kind of a concept and cross it with like a sci-fi element, kind of bewilderment kind of thing with an Inception. That sounds like something right up Christopher Nolan's alley. I mean, that sounds like something that would come straight out of the mind of a Christopher Nolan. And I know a lot of people yesterday, when they read those headlines, people who know what North by Northwest is, a Hitchcock film, by the way, and people who know Inception were like, oh, this could be really good, and got a lot of people excited. Now, it should be noted, though, that there are a couple of outlets right now that are saying that, hey guys, we're now hearing that that's not an accurate thing. Like they're saying, so we reported this, but now we're hearing it might not be accurate. But there's also one or two outlets that are saying, no, we've double checked and it is accurate. So whether this is true or not, you all got to know, take that with a grain of salt, that this report may or may not be true. Because there's some people now saying it's not. There's some people still insisting that it is. Whatever. So keep that in the back of your mind. For the sake of the discussion, though, right now, Robert, just for the sake of the conversation, you hear a description like that for the next Nolan film. What would you think about a Christopher Nolan North by Northwest meets Inception? Like, what kind of sparks in your imagination when you hear that?
Well, I mean, that's like the cinematic equivalent of, getting to second base the first time when you're in junior high school. I'm telling you.
Is that what it's like?
That's exactly what it's like. I mean, what's not to love? First of all, I love Inception. I saw it 8 times in the theater. I love Hitchcock's North by Northwest. I wrote a paper on it in college. And these are two great tastes that taste great together. I mean, what is not to love?
And you think, so how would you see something like that unfolding? Like, if you're thinking Christopher Nolan doing that, what do you think a movie like that looks like?
Well, I mean, to me, it's like, what if, first of all, the idea of who's real and what's what in North by Northwest is already interesting.
That's true.
But what if who's real and what's what put into the Inception landscape? I mean, if it's a story about the difference between reality or the Matrix or whatever, some modern take on that, somebody impersonating someone else or somebody being undercover in a world where reality is constantly being pulled out from under you, or you don't know whether you're dreaming or whether you're awake. I mean, the possibilities of that, it's very Philip K. Dick. If you read a lot of Philip K. Dick, he wrote Blade Runner. There's a lot of mind bending. What's real? What is the fabric of reality? Here comes the Adjustment Bureau to come get me. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff that I think Nolan has played with reality a lot in his films in different ways. And this seems to me to be peak Christopher Nolan. So I'm excited.
Yeah, so whether this report ends up being accurate or not, and we'll let everybody else debate that out about whether it's real or not.
Right.
Regardless, I'm just looking forward to what Christopher Nolan does next, because I quite liked Dunkirk. I know there's some people who were hoping for something different. I thought it was a brilliant film from him, and it was a little bit different than things we've seen him do before. And man, I'm excited to see what he does next. And if it is something like this, that's pretty damn exciting too.